Welcome to Storytime with Writers Playground. My name is Mariana Davila.
And I am Eric Humbert.
And we are your hosts. Thanks so much for joining us. We are super excited for today's episode as we will be reading the first place winning story from our current challenge called Graduation Cake by Charlie Rogers.
That's right. We announced the winning stories from our 12th Playground Challenge just last week, and we're pumped to share the first place winning story with you today. So congratulations to all the writers that placed and that got honorable mention. We read a lot of great work and had a lot of fun with this, and we had to make some very difficult decisions once again.
Yes, congratulations! And thank you everyone who participated and everyone who created some new and exciting work. We wish we could recognize even more writers and stories, but we ended up with some amazing pieces of fiction, all of which we should have up on the website and available to read within the coming days.
Yep, the first place winning story, Graduation Cake by Charlie Rogers, is actually available to read now on our website to go along with this podcast. And like Mariana said, the rest of the stories will be up soon and available to read as well. Our goal is to have that done by the end of the weekend, so we'll do our best to hit that mark and hopefully get them up even sooner. And once that's all done, we will send out one last closing email to all the participants of this.
Yes, we have now sent out all of the individual feedback, so if you have submitted a story for this past challenge and you haven't seen your feedback, email us right away at admin@writersplaygroundllc.com and we will get that to you right away.
And thanks to everyone who participated and for your patience while we reviewed all your work. It has been a tough year for us so far, so we really appreciate all the support we've received and the condolences sent. Sorry we weren't able to respond to those individually, but it is very much appreciated.
For sure. Thank you all so much. But let's get into our story for today.
Let's do it.
Great. Today, like we mentioned, we will be sharing an amazing story called Graduation Cake by Charlie Rogers, which won first place out of 639 entries in this competition that just ended, our 12th Playground Challenge. And the tagline for the story is, long-held secrets unravel when a strange son returns to the family house for a graduation party. We did want to let you know there is some mature content in this story, so that's just a heads up.
Yeah. And Charlie Rogers is a talented gay writer who lives in New York City. He's a former photographer and aspiring hermit. He finds himself writing the same story over and over, ignoring birds and their portents. He's originally from Beacon, New York, and studied literature at Cornell University for some reason. His work has appeared in Bull, Uncharted, and Ellery Queen.
Charlie has been a frequent participant in our writing challenges and has placed multiple times. He won an honorable mention in our 10th Playground Challenge, 6th place in our 8th Playground Challenge, and he has a 9th place finish in the 6th challenge. And you can read all of those winning stories on our website as well, which is writersplaygroundllc.com.
Yep. And you can find even more of Charlie's work on his website, charlierogerswrites.com, so make sure to check that out as well. And we'll have this info in the description wherever you're listening to this.
For today, here is Graduation Cake. Enjoy!
Graduation Cake by Charlie Rogers. My sister Roxanne greets me on the front steps of our old duplex like a house cat, a mix of contempt and affection in her guarded stance. She offers me a smile that looks suspiciously like a frown. Kate will be so glad you showed up, she says, her voice flat and nasal. I'm struck by how strong her Philadelphia accent is, though I shouldn't be, given how long it took me to shake mine. It still sometimes slips out when I say a word like Monday or Sunday. Hey, if there's even one person here who doesn't hate me, that's good enough for me. I grin, hoping to keep the tension low, but the truth is I'm terrified about what awaits on the other side of the door. The last time I saw our younger brother Josh was at his mother's memorial service 25 years ago. He dislocated my jaw. Roxanne rolls her eyes, same as the sardonic teenager I used to share a bathroom with. It's comforting. Maybe we haven't changed that much after all. No one hates you, she says, opening her arms for a hug as I reach the top of the steps. But before I reach her, she adds, not anymore. We'll see. I glance over at the other door in the duplex, its torn screen and rusted hinges. When we were kids, our neighbor was a friendly guy our parents' age who lived alone. Mr. Pillsbury, like the dough brand. Based on the disrepair visible on that half of the building, I'm guessing he still lives here. He used to be part of the family, sort of. So did I. My niece Kate interrupts my wondering and preempts Roxanne's long overdue hug. Uncle Billy, you came! The screen door slams behind her as she rushes into my arms. I lift her off her feet, same as I did when she was little, though she's taller than I am now, and she squeals into my ear, same as she always has. Roxanne and I have had our share of problems, but I'll give her credit for encouraging my relationship with her daughter, unlike Josh, whose two sons may or may not even know I exist. Nothing was going to stop me from celebrating my favorite niece's graduation. I set her down and smile at Roxanne. It's a cliche, but they could pass for sisters. The same dark eyes and tall foreheads. I look more like our father, short and stocky, but I have my mother's hazel eyes. She died in an accident when I was still nursing, so if I inherited anything else from her, I may never know. I'm your only niece, Kate pouts, but I know she's actually delighted. I've been teasing her with this line for her entire 18 years. Mr. Pillsbury appears in the other doorway, his features obscured by the dirty screen. I remember him doing silly magic tricks for Josh and me, always laughing, but his sudden presence, silently watching us, unsettles me even more than the prospect of what waits inside. My only favorite niece. I keep grinning as if nothing's changed. It's how I'm going to get through the day. My brother doesn't look up or acknowledge me when I enter the room, busy playing some racing game with his sons. They're 14 and 12, I think. The taller one goes by Bray, and the redhead is named Ryan, but neither of them show the slightest interest in me. My father stands behind them, leaning on the back of the sofa for support. He nods when he sees me and turns his attention back to his grandsons. Dad, I say. I can hear myself straining for jocularity and hope no one else notices. If I pretend to be happy I'm here, maybe it'll rub off on everyone else. Dad sighs, a disappointed exhale he used to reserve for days we'd bring our report cards home or when Mom, not my biological mother but the woman who raised me, would interrupt football to ask him to take out the trash. Billy, you look healthy. Everyone outside this house calls me William, ever since I left. Dad would say he didn't kick me out, but it was pretty clear I wasn't welcome anymore. My ex-husband would occasionally call me Bill when he was pissed, but for the most part, I only hear that name in here. It lands like a murmured slur. I'm reminded why I've been estranged from these people for almost 2 decades. Dad, of all people, should know who's at fault for what happened. If the roles had been reversed, Mom would have worked tirelessly to bridge the divide between me and the rest of the family. Dad has done the opposite by insisting my story was total fabrication, as if shifting the blame onto me absolves him. Josh has always taken his side. Roxanne used to make an effort, not so much now, but I don't hold her responsible. I know who really fucked this family up. I won't say it though, there's no point. I can never prove my claims. Good to see you too. I tap him on the shoulder, playful, like we're buddies. One of Josh's sons, I'm suddenly afraid I've got their names reversed, looks up, but not at me, as if I'm not even here. Is it time for cake? Not until after lunch, bud, Josh says, his calm voice at odds with the furious way he mashes buttons on the video game controller. Roxanne pipes up behind me. I ordered sandwiches. It's too hot to cook. There's a vegan one for Kate, of course. Do you have any restrictions, Billy? Josh spins his head around when he hears my name, as if I haven't been standing 2 feet behind him for a couple of minutes. Billy, you showed. It sounds like a threat coming from him, or maybe I'm imagining that. He finally stands and turns to face me. He's towered over me since I was 16, and he was 11, but now he's twice as wide as the version in my memory, with a full beard specked with gray. He's also balding more than me or Dad, which gives me an odd rush of satisfaction. It's been a while. Do we shake? Hug? Neither, I want to say. Hug's good, I say. Josh and I shared a room as kids. It isn't until he's got his meaty arms around me that I remember how close we used to be, how affectionate he always was. You still have all your hair, you fucker. No gray either, Roxanne adds. I didn't go gray either, Dad says. Not until... Shall we eat? Kate interrupts. I don't think she does it on purpose. She probably isn't amused by a bunch of middle-agers talking about hair loss during her graduation party. But if so, she's even sharper than I thought. Food goes about how I expect. Dad needs to be told multiple times that Roxanne didn't prepare these sandwiches herself, that she ordered them from the same deli we used to buy candy at when we were kids. Ryan doesn't want the regular sandwich or the vegan alternative, so Josh offers to make him something special, rooting around in Roxanne's fridge. I don't know what happened to Josh's wife and won't ask. Bray goes off to the corner to eat by himself. I've still never been introduced to him or his brother, and he doesn't seem to care. I guess I don't either. I sit at the dining room table, the same wobbly red one that Mom hated, and think to myself how the day is going so much better than I imagined. I certainly didn't expect a hug from my brother, and no one's told me I shouldn't have come. And Kate beams every time she sees me, like she thinks she's fixed her family. Dad takes the seat across from me, focusing on his ham sandwich like it's a crossword puzzle, lips dry smacking as he chews methodically, still ignoring me as much as he can. This is your fucking fault, Dad told me when we got the news about Mom. I abandon my food and head outside for some air and a smoke. I'm thinking about that day again. I usually don't, but here it's unavoidable. So much of the memory is blissfully lost, slowly degraded from photographic clarity to impressionistic sketches. I remember, the house initially seems quiet, and I think I'm alone. Mom's on a rare business trip in Fort Lauderdale, and Dad's at work. He's a professor at Drexel, and sometimes he drops by for lunch. It's too late in the afternoon for that. I find the quiet eerie but freeing. I can do whatever I want. I don't remember why I've come home from school early, or how I got here. I must have walked. In the kitchen, I heap 3 huge spoonfuls of ice cream into a breakfast bowl and smother it in chocolate sauce. I've never been one for breaking rules, and the first bite is wicked and sweet, the most delicious mouthful of ice cream I've ever tasted. But I'm still wearing my school uniform, and I'm not so lost to my new rebellion that my common sense shuts off. If I get chocolate on any part of it, I'll get caught. I could strip it all off right here, but if someone did walk in, I'd be mortified on top of guilty. I set the bowl back on the counter and go upstairs to change. That's when I hear it, a strange guttural sound coming from my parents' room. If I was a savvier kid, I'd have instantly clocked exactly what I was hearing and known to stay away. But I have a lifetime of buts. This is just the first. I move down the hallway quickly, without any hesitation or fear, and as I grow closer, the sound becomes clearer, a man grunting. I can't say it sounds like Dad because I've never heard him make noises like this. When I reach the doorway, I see his feet first, arched and pressed against the footboard. I should have turned away right then, but I continue looking, confused for a second as to what exactly I'm seeing. I wish I could live forever in that ignorance, but I can't. I'm looking at my father's naked ass thrusting violently. I don't see the woman he's on top of, but I can parse enough skin that's slightly more tan than Dad's to know this isn't how my father masturbates. He's actually fucking someone, and Mom is out of town. You love that big cock, don't you? Dad says. I remain transfixed, tempted to peek further into the room to see who Dad is on top of, but desperate to run away. And for a few long seconds, I do neither. Then an idea comes to me. This is where it really goes wrong. I creep back downstairs, find the number of Mom's hotel in the refrigerator, and call her room. She sounds out of breath when she answers. Billy? Something wrong? It's Dad, I say, my voice high and unfamiliar. He's in the bedroom. I saw him, with another woman. She starts crying, and I immediately realize this was a terrible idea. I hear her pull a deep inhale. I'm coming home, okay? I'm changing my flight. Don't tell him or the other kids, okay? I should talk her out of it. But she's my mother. I don't tell her what to do. Okay, Mom. She's already hung up. Then I don't know what else to do. I go knock on Mr. Pillsbury's door, but when he doesn't answer, I sit under the oak tree on his side of the yard and wonder what I've done. Hours later, Roxanne finds me dozing under the tree. She asks me about the melted bowl of ice cream, which I'd forgotten all about. I don't want to tell her what I've seen, so I lie and claim I don't know anything about the ice cream. She doesn't believe me. The next morning, Dad gets a call that Mom crashed her car rushing to the airport. He collapses onto the floor and can barely speak. Did something happen to Mom? Josh asks. It's a few more days before I confess about the phone call, what I saw. You're back. The voice is unfamiliar, somehow both soft and gravelly. I turn. Mr. Pillsbury stands behind me, at the top of the steps. He's holding an unlit cigarette, and I'm struck by how much better he's aged than Dad. He looks closer to my age than his own, but a slight tremor in his right hand gives him away. Mind if I sit? My plan was to have a moment to myself, but maybe company would be better. Anything to keep the memories away. They're your steps more than mine, Mr. Pillsbury, I say, resurrecting my unflappable grin. True, he says, and lowers himself beside me. Call me Brian. I'm struck by a different memory. When it was just me, before Roxanne could talk, and definitely before Josh was born, I called him Uncle Brian. I don't remember why that stopped. He was still like a family member, at least when we were little, always showing up with the best presents on our birthdays, dressing up as Santa on Christmas Eve, and yet somehow I'd forgotten his first name. I light a cigarette for him, and we sit a moment in silence. 2 little girls bike past us on the sidewalk, and one of them waves to us, or more likely to Mr. Pillsbury, Uncle Brian. It's good to see you again, William. He sighs, very different from my father's sigh, not exasperated, but world-weary. I never got to say what a shame it was what happened to your mother. I laughed. Which one? I knew them both, of course, but I meant Mel. He holds his hand in front of his face, parallel to the ground, and watches as his fingers seem to move on their own. Though I was much closer to Eve. Eve is my biological mother. When Dad would get mad at my stubbornness, he'd say, "You're so much like your mother," as if that was a bad thing. I never learned much about her, and always felt like it would be disloyal to my stepmother to show too much interest. They didn't invite you to the party today? I flick my still-burning cigarette into the street and immediately feel guilty about littering. Brian doesn't seem to care. He stands, his knee joints cracking at my ears. No, it's not like it was. Hasn't been in a while. If you can spare a minute, I've got something for you. He clears his throat. Present, I guess. I can't remember the last time I've been inside Brian's house, but it's easily been decades. The space is a mirror of ours, but couldn't feel more different. Every surface is littered with unopened mail, and every inch of the walls is covered by oil paintings. A few landscapes. I recognize one as the slope of Clark Park, but mostly portraits of men. They're all incredibly beautiful, and I'm overwhelmed. Brian must have painted them all. Wait right here. Brian bounds up the steps, quite spry for someone in his mid-60s. I wander over to the fireplace that I assume is purely decorative, my eye caught by the image hung above it. A naked man lounges on a bed. The background is all watercolor splotches, primary colors, but the bed and the man are both vividly detailed. The subject looks so much like me that my heart hammers in my ears. The man in the painting looks right at me, like he really sees me, and offers me a flirty smile. His penis rests lazily on one leg, and his right hand sits next to it, the arched fingers drawing my eye toward it. I spin my head around the room. The same man appears in a half-dozen other pictures. A close-up with an inscrutable expression, half submerged in a rippling lake. Naked again, peering back over his shoulder with that same bright smile. A similar pose on the bed, but with a sheet pulled to his waist. Everywhere I look, there he is. He isn't me, but I know who he is. Brian reappears holding another portrait, and if I have any doubt about the subject of these other paintings, this one quiets it. An attractive young couple sit side by side on a pair of colorful cubes, and both of them gaze lovingly at the baby in the woman's lap. It's me and my parents. Oh, Brian sees me looking at the man above the mantel. My eyes meet the tiny painted gaze of the baby version of me. I want to climb inside the image and warn him about what will happen, what he'll do, and what will be done to him. But I can't. I feel like I've been gone for hours, but Dad's still working on the same sandwich. I take my seat, my abandoned lunch waiting in front of me. Everyone's in the other room. I was just talking to Brian next door, I say, holding my voice as flat as possible. I saw his paintings. He looks up. Is his expression finally showing remorse? Guilt? I can't tell. That was who I saw you with, wasn't it? You told everyone I made it up and got Mom killed. I pushed my food away, pressed my palms onto the shiny table. Why? Dad sighs. But it's not like before. It's more like mine, like he's been waiting decades to empty his lungs. You're older now than I was then, Billy. I close my eyes. The response doesn't come until I open them again. A shaft of afternoon sun falls across Dad's pale, pockmarked face. He looks exhausted, cornered. There's no excuse, really. I'd lost my second wife. I didn't know what I was doing. I could point out that he'd been cheating on that second wife, and I'm guessing that he'd done it to the first as well. I could ask him if he's capable of apologizing. Or I could ask about the man in the paintings, full of joy and mischief, the map of his life not yet drawn. I could ask if I'm destined to become this version of him, all frayed nerves and crumbling walls. I say nothing. Kate joins us at the table, still bubbling with enthusiasm. Are you ready for cake?
That was Graduation Cake by Charlie Rogers. We both love this piece.
Definitely.
It is so well crafted. Charlie does a great job balancing the story, keeping the reader in the moment of the action, but also interjecting backstory through inner monologue. We get the one full flashback, the most dramatic scene of the story.
Which has some excellent tension and suspense.
And it all comes up naturally within the flow of the present scene. He brings the scenes to life with his dialogue and descriptions, and it all feels authentic and pertinent to the focus of the story.
For sure. He does a great job setting up the premise right away, that Billy has been estranged from most of his family. You can immediately feel the tension and how uncomfortable he is. Charlie also makes it clear that there was something traumatic that happened, some sort of conflict that triggered his alienation from the family, and we are kept in some suspense for a bit about what that was exactly.
And there are so many great details that we get in this introduction. Each character is distinct and has a significant role to play to tell us more about this family. The sister that has made an effort to stay in touch and let him get to know her daughter. The brother with an intimidating presence who hasn't spoken to him at all, not since his mother's memorial, which tells us that they have suffered that loss. His nephews who he doesn't know at all. And then, of course, the father who is at the center of it all.
Yeah. And like Mariana said, all of this background and the way in which we learn about these characters comes up naturally within the flow of the scene. Little by little, we really get to know them through their actions that we see, through their dialogue, and through Billy's inner commentary that goes along with it. It feels like every line in the story is telling the reader something significant. It's intentional, which is really what we are looking for.
And then the story itself is just so heartbreaking. It is clear that Billy struggles with relationship and dysfunction, and we get the sense that it really all springs from this traumatic experience, not only catching his father's infidelity, but how that leads to the death of his stepmother, and how he clearly feels a strong sense of guilt about that.
Yeah, and it's infuriating that his father just exacerbated that, telling him that it's his fault, denying the truth. It's horrible, and I just felt so bad for him.
Yeah, completely. And Charlie did such a great job with giving us the actual flashback. There is some awesome suspense as he makes his way up the stairs. We all know what he is hearing, but the tension is just building. And we are on the edge of our seats as he gets closer. And the description and the strong language that is used in the scene just makes it all the more uncomfortable, which really captures the experience for Billy. It is a very intense scene, and then only made worse when we find out his mother died rushing to the airport.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. And the ending is just fantastic. There are really two parts of the story that I would say were my favorite. I love the scene when he is in Brian's home and the description that we get of the paintings from Billy's perspective as he is seeing them. But specifically, when he sees the painting of himself as a baby with his parents and we read, My eyes meet the tiny painted gaze of the baby version of me. I want to climb inside the image and warn him about what will happen, what he'll do, and what will be done to him, but I can't.
Oh, for sure. I love those lines.
It's so good. And it's like, he's looking at this baby. It's him. And babies are like this pure, uncorrupted. But we also know that never lasts because we're all humans. And that's hard and that's painful and it's universal. So he just wants to like go back and tell his little, self about that. It's just, and I just thought that was beautifully expressed in these lines.
And what was your other favorite part?
Oh, yeah. And the ending was my other favorite part. When he finally confronts his father about what happened and how his father tells him, "You're older now than I was then, Billy. There's no excuse, really. I lost my second wife. I didn't know what I was doing." I just love this so much because it made me think about how when we are all kids growing up, we look up at our parents and we think, oh, they're adults. They got things figured out. They know what they're doing. But then we grow up and we become adults and we realize that nobody knows what they're doing. Our parents really didn't have it all figured out. Hopefully they were trying their best. No one's got it all figured out. Even if some people want to pretend like they do, we're all just a bunch of flawed humans. We make mistakes. We're scared. And then that first part, "You're older now than I was then, Billy." I thought it just beautifully summed that idea up for me in that one short line. And then we get the second part. There's no excuse for what Billy's father did, but there did feel like there was contrition in those lines, even if it wasn't a direct apology. It's clear that his father was dealing with his own shame as well. And again, that's not an excuse for what he did, but it's to understand it and to understand he's human.
I love that ending as well. And I hope at least that Billy was able to find some healing in this moment. And I like how it ends with Kate asking, are they ready for cake? Like, let's move forward as a family. We are here together now. We are celebrating a graduation. I saw some hope in that.
Yeah, it's like a graduation, moving on. It's great.
There were so many great details in this story. There was just one more passage I wanted to mention. It reads, "Eve is my biological mother. When Dad would get mad at my stubbornness, he'd said, 'You're so much like your mother,' as if that was a bad thing. I never learned much about her and always felt like it would be disloyal to my stepmother to show too much interest." I just thought that there was such interesting complexity in that. It really says a lot about Billy as a person. It is so sweet that he didn't want to be disloyal to his stepmother, which shows he clearly loved and appreciated her. But it is also really sad that this stopped him from being more inquisitive about his birth mother. Details like these just feel so authentic and like what someone in this situation might really experience and go through. It is intricate and specific and feels like there is an understanding of psychology here.
Yeah, it's very well done.
Definitely.
All right, so for the prompts, Charlie chose half-siblings for the character. And also for the character, he was a scapegoat, which was another one of the options. A duplex for the setting. And the one thing that everyone had to include in this challenge was a painting from an earlier time with a striking resemblance to the protagonist.
And if you enjoy this piece, make sure to check out Charlie's website, charlierogerswrites.com, and you can find some more of his work there.
Yep. And we will have the rest of the winning stories up on our website and available to read within the next few days. The feedback is out, so if you haven't received that, get in contact with us right away. And we will also be announcing the dates of our next competition within the next week or two, most likely. So a lot of exciting stuff coming up.
Yep. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. We will be back for another episode in 2 weeks.
Thank you. See ya.
See ya. Bye.